What's up, guys? It's Graham here. So it finally happened. And we are celebrating today because for the last 9 years, my credit score has never once surpassed the legendary 800 score. I got it once to 799, but it was just never able to break past it. That was until today we did it. The credit overlords have bestowed their greatness upon thee, and my score has finally passed the 800 mark, which, by the way, is a threshold in which most people would consider it to be a perfect score, which also means I could finally make a video about it on YouTube about how to get a perfect score. So here's why all of this matters in the first place. Your credit score is really just a report card of how well you handle your money. Like in school, you'll do well on your exams and tests to get a good grade, but in life, you handle your money responsibly and get a good credit score. And having a good credit score isn't just something you look at online and then go and make videos about on YouTube. But you can do that, although it does have a pretty practical purpose where it could save you a lot of money. And even better, it could end up making you a lot of money. Having a good credit score means you can get the lowest interest rate anytime you want to leverage your money in real estate and business, or just in life. It's how I'm able to get thousands of dollars back and free closing costs anytime I refinance or buy a property. It's how he gets such low interest rates anytime I go to buy something that it's effectively as though I'm just getting free money. It's also how I get approved for pretty much any credit card sign-up bonus I apply for, which is just another way that I get more free stuff. So I promise, no, actually wait. I guarantee this video could easily save you or make you a few $1,000s. At minimum, if you actually just follow it and do it, it's not going to take you a lot of time. It's super easy to do. And the best part about all of this is that it's not going to cost you any money out of pocket to get an 800 score. So it's entirely free to do again. It's just going to take a little bit of your time. And all I ask for in return is a quick, like on the video, to help with the YouTube algorithm. And if you're feeling a little bit generous today, maybe just a comment down below to help boost it up too. So if you wouldn't mind, you just don't like, and a comment. And that's it. Otherwise, enjoy the video. Now, first, in order to understand how you can get a perfect score, you've got to understand how the system scores you in the first place. Why said just like you've got a class that grades you differently for homework tests, assignments, attendance, and whether or not you actually smash like button your credit score grades. You want several different factors as well. So if you want a perfect score, you have to do well on all of them. First is your on-time payment history, and this makes up 35% of your credit score. Now, this one is incredibly straightforward. Just don't miss a credit card payment and don't pay it off late, ever, in order to get a perfect credit score. You'll need to pretty much never miss a payment. Otherwise, that could ruin everything. Now, here's how this works and how it's calculated. The credit gods look at all of your on-time payments and then divide that by your total payments. And then from that, they calculate what percentage you paid on time. Now, here's just an example. Let's say you've had one credit card for 60 months and you end up missing one payment. That means the credit overlords take 59 on-time payments, divide that by 60 total payments, and you have a 98.3% payment ratio. And as you could see from the Credit Karma score calculator, that puts you in the yellow, which is not good. That is unacceptable if you want to get a perfect score. However, in a different example, let's say you've now had two credit cards each for 60 months and you end up missing one payment. Well, now you have a total of 120 credit payments between two credit cards, which means that they take 119 on-time payments, divide that by 120 total payments between the two cards, and that means you've paid 99.1% on time, which puts you in the green category as far as Credit Karma is concerned, which is a little bit better. And as one more example, let's just say you're brand new to building credit. You have one credit card, you've had it for 15 months, and you end up missing one payment. Well, the same calculation still applies. You have 14 on-time payments, divide that by 15 total payments, and that means you've only paid 93.3% on time, which is bad. That's really bad. It's in the red according to Credit Karma, which means you can't pass, you can't collect $200 and you got to go right to jail. It's that bad, but that also means that you could prevent this from happening by not only just not missing a payments in the first place, but also having more credit available to you for a longer period of time, so that way, if you do miss a payment, it does end up impacting you a lot less. Like having 10 credit cards open for 5 years would give you 600 total payments, so that if you end up missing one by mistake, it still means you've paid 99.8% on time, which is not the end of the world now when it comes to paying off a credit card on time. The really good news with this is that for them to count it as an on-time payment, you just have to make the minimum payment every single month, which most of the time is really just like $25 to $50 a month. So even in the worst case scenario, if you can't afford to pay off your credit card bill in full, just make the minimum payment on time every single month, and that will help keep your score intact in this category. Which, like I said, all of this is the most important part of your score making of 35% of what it is. Just ask Dave Ramsey. Besides that, the credit utilization second factor that makes up your credit score is known as what's called the credit utilization that makes up 30% of your score now. In order to get a perfect score, the credit bureaus just want to see that you're not out there just maxing out all of your credit cards and that you're only using a small percentage of the overall credit that you have available to you. Ideally, you want to be spending under 10% of your total credit limits, showing the almighty credit gods that you don't need all the money they've given you because you're that good with money. Now, if you're confused, here's how this works, and here's how it's calculated. Let's just say if a credit card with the $10,000 limit and you go out there and you spend $6,000, and then after that, you just go and make the minimum payment. Well, at that point, you do the calculation and you're using it 60% of the available credit you have, which puts you in the red category here, which is bad. And from that, you're seen as a riskier borrowers because you're carrying a higher balance. And that makes the credit bureaus very angry, and they're going to lower your score. On the other hand, if you have the same one credit card with $10,000 limits, you spend $6,000 but you pay it off in full when it's due, that means you now $0 on a $10,000 credit line, which shows that you have a 0% credit utilization, which makes the credit bureaus very happy and gives you a green category. Now, there are some ways around this because it's not the dollar amount that the almighty credit gods care about. It is the percentage of credit that you actually use. So this means if you have a $300 credit line and you go out and spend $300, that just means you've maxed out your car. Could prevent this from happening by not only just not missing a payments in the first place, but also having more credit available to you for a longer period of time so that that way, if you do miss a payment, it does end up impacting you a lot less. Like having 10 credit cards open for 5 years would give you 600 total payments so that if you end up missing one by mistake, it still means you've paid 99.8% on time, which is not the end of the world now when it comes to paying off a credit card on time. The really good news with this is that for them to count it as an on-time payment, you just have to make the minimum payment every single month, which most of the time is really just like $25 to $50 a month. So even in the worst case scenario, if you can't afford to pay off your credit card bill in full, just make the minimum payment on time every single month, and that will help keep your score intact in this category. Which, like I said, all of this is the most important part of your score making of 35% of what it is. Just ask Dave Ramsey. Besides that, the credit utilization second factor that makes up your credit score is known as what's called the credit utilization that makes up 30% of your score now. In order to get a perfect score, the credit bureaus just want to see that you're not out there just maxing out all of your credit cards and that you're only using a small percentage of the overall credit that you have available to you. Ideally, you want to be spending under 10% of your total credit limits, showing the almighty credit gods that you don't need all the money they've given you because you're that good with money. Now, if you're confused, here's how this works, and here's how it's calculated. Let's just say if a credit card with the $10,000 limit and you go out there and you spend $6,000, and then after that, you just go and make the minimum payment. Well, at that point, you do the calculation and you're using it 60% of the available credit you have, which puts you in the red category here, which is bad. And from that, you're seen as a riskier borrowers because you're carrying a higher balance. And that makes the credit bureaus very angry, and they're going to lower your score. On the other hand, if you have the same one credit card with $10,000 limits, you spend $6,000 but you pay it off in full when it's due, that means you now $0 on a $10,000 credit line, which shows that you have a 0% credit utilization, which makes the credit bureaus very happy and gives you a green category. Now, there are some ways around this because it's not the dollar amount that the almighty credit gods care about. It is the percentage of credit that you actually use. So this means if you have a $300 credit line and you go out and spend $300, that just means you've maxed out your car. You have a 100% credit utilization, and that's very bad. But if you go and spend that same $300, although this time you have a $30,000 credit line, then that's showing that you only have a 1% credit utilization, which is really good. Now, one of the techniques I use to help with this is just to have a lot of available credits with all really high limits. For instance, right now, I have over 12 credit cards and many of them have over $30,000 credit lines. Now, I'm never, ever, ever actually going to spend that much money, but it does help me in the instance where I go and spend $10,000 or more on a home remodeling budget. And I can still show a very low credit utilization because I have so much credit already available to me. Now there is a myth out there that suggests you should keep a small balance in your credit card at the end of every month. So that way the credit bureaus have something to report. And this one is false. Keeping a balance on a credit card is not going to help improve your score. And if anything now, it's going to cost you more money and interest. So it's always better to pay it off in full by the time it's due and never carry a balance on the credit card ever. So for you watching, if you want to get a perfect credit score, it's really important that you try to keep a balance of 5% or less of your available credit. If it doesn't mean that you can't go out there and spend more than 5% of your available credits, but it does mean that you should pay it down before the statement cycle is over, so that way the credit bureaus have less money to report on. Now, in addition to that, it will help you to go and get more credit cards, as counterintuitive as that is to say, because that will help increase the total credit limit you have available to you, which will decrease your overall credit utilization. And finally, I strongly recommend you ask for a credit limit increase every 6 to 12 months on your credit cards. This way, you're going to be constantly lowering your overall credit utilization and helping to improve your score. So just remember, don't go out there spending more money just because you have more credit available to you. I think that goes without saying. All of this should really be done as a tactic to help increase your credit score and not go out there buy more things you don't need, like this really cool pinball machine from eBay. And finally, one more note. I want to leave off with this one. How much money you keep is a balance on a credit card. It is really only going to be temporary. This is one of those things that's only going to impact your score until you pay down your credit card, and then your score will end up going up afterwards. So if you have a high utilization rate right now, or in the short term, it's not the end of the world, and your credit score will reach. As soon as you pay it down third, they length say that length doesn't matter. But when it comes to calculating your credit score, it very much does, because 15% of your overall credit score is made up by the average length of your credit history. This just means the longer you've had credit for, and the sooner you start, the better. This is one of the reasons I highly recommend people to build their credit as soon as they possibly can, even if it means going and getting a credit card the day you turn 18. This will build the entire foundation of your credit history very early on. Now, it's very important for me to distinguish here that this is calculated by the average length of your total credit history and not the total length. And let me explain, that's a save open one. Credit card 4 years ago, that would mean your average credit history shows as 4 years. But if you opened up that one credit card 4 years ago, and then you opened up another new credit card today, your average credit history would be reduced now to 2 years. Remember, because it only takes the average. The same also applies if you end up closing an old credit line, because some people believe it's a good idea just to close old credit cards they don't use anymore. This could be really bad because once you close off an old credit card, even though it'll still show in your account for 7 to 10 years, it could lower the average age of your accounts after that, and then you would have to wait even longer to build a backup. So my recommendation is to first start building your credit as soon as you possibly can and keep all of those accounts in good standing as long as possible. This is going to help you build up a solid fortress of long-standing credit history so that when you do go and apply for new credit, it's not going to impact your account as much since you have a lot of long-standing credit history already. And because of all of that, it's going to reduce your score a lot less. And when it comes to doing all of this, really the only thing you could do at this point is just wait. This part of building your credit just takes time. So don't be impatient if you've just got a credit card and made a few on-time payments and don't yet have a 760 score. Patience goes a long way with this one. So sometimes you're just going to need to wait this one out. And in terms of how long you'll need to wait, according to the Credit Karma Guide, they want you to have 9 years or more of average credit history to get the best ranking. And even for me, my average account length shows just over 4 years because of all of the new credit I've taken out recently. And still, it doesn't make a huge difference because it only makes up 15% of your total credit score. And I've done every other category very well. The fourth aspect, line of credit. If your credit score is how many lines of credit do you have open, and this makes up 10% of your score. Now, this is one of those things that you would think makes absolutely no sense. Like, why would you go and reward someone for going and opening up more credit cards and taking out more loans? You would think that the person who doesn't really need any credit and doesn't have much would have the highest score, right? But if you think that way, you would be wrong. And here's why. At first, the more credit you have, the higher your credit limit will be, which means the lower your overall credit utilization is likely to be, which means the higher the score you will have. If that makes sense. The second, by having more credit available, you're going to be able to show more on-time payments, which, like I said, is going to help increase your score as well. And third, having a mix of credit, like having a mortgage, an auto loan, and a credit card, shows lenders that you can responsibly handle different types of debt without defaulting on them. All of this sounds like pretty backwards thinking, and a lot of it reminds me of the mindset of we're only going to loan people money who don't need money because they're the most likely to pay us back. And that, by the way, is very true. Banks love lending you money when you don't need it. And as soon as you do need the money, you're seen as a higher risk because you need it. So really, this is just something you need to play into. It's how the system works, and according to Credit Karma, they want to see you with 21 lines of credit or more to have the perfect score. And for most people, I have a feeling this is going to take you a very long time to build up to. But I wouldn't stress about it too much. It only makes up 10% of your score. Although I would recommend you aim to diversify your credit profile over time, because long-term that is going to help you get an 800 plus credit score in inquiries finally. Fifth, we have the last component of your credit score, which makes up the remaining 10%, and that would be the total amount of inquiries on your credit report. Now, here's how this one works. Anytime you go and apply for new credit, it's reported to the credit bureaus and shows up on your reports is what's called a hard inquiry. This helps lenders keep track of how many times you're going and asking for credit. And generally speaking, the more times you're going and asking for credit, the riskier you become as a borrower. This is because lenders are worried that all of a sudden you're out there going and applying for new credit cards and loans, and they're concerned that maybe something has happened that is causing you to do this. Like thinking, why did you just get 3 credit cards and an auto loan today? Are you running out of money? Are you going to all of a sudden max it out and then never pay it again? This all seems worrisome to lenders. So therefore, the more hard inquiries you have on your credit report, the lower your score is generally going to be. Now, in addition to that, if you are out there getting you credit cards and getting you loans, that is going to reduce your average credit length history, which could end up further dropping your score as well. That's why so many people end up telling me that they've just opened up a new credit card and then all of a sudden their score drops by like 50 points. So no, it was not just the inquiry that did that. It was also the reduction in your total average length of credit history that impacted your score as well. The inquiry was really only a small component of that. The good news, however, is that all of this is really just a temporary thing because hard inquiries only show on your report for the first 2 years, and they only impact your score for the first 12 months. Then after that, they drop off your report, and it's like it never even happened in the first place. The other good news with this is that if you're shopping around for an auto loan or a mortgage, and you'll need to run your credit multiple times with different lenders to get different rates, the FICO scoring method